Okay, we should be good now. Please tell me if you can actually hear me. What the hell's on my shirt here? Are we good? Okay. Alrighty. Sorry about that. I have no idea why that happened. But, okay. Sorry for the longer than usual intro. Alright, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you're new. Appreciate you guys joining me today. Appreciate you waiting patiently. Always love starting out the stream with some audio issues right off the bat. You know, I thought it was Luna at first. I thought she did something because right before I went live, she like basically attacked my leg. And she like hit the cord. But apparently it had nothing to do with that. Yeah, I noticed there's a bit of a glare too. You know what? Hold on. Give me 1 second to fix that. All right. That was that was a bit too much. So just, you know, getting things sorted out here at the beginning of today's stream. But I hope everybody's doing well today. We have some topics to go over and talk about today. Some topics regarding PlayStation and Xbox, because it seems like once again, there's news making the rounds that seems to indicate that Microsoft is just well on their way to, you know, being pretty done. Like pretty much done trying to seriously compete in any way, shape, or form with PlayStation within the console market. How's my throat? Thank you for asking. It's doing a little bit better. Still not 100%. So we'll see how much I can do over the course of today's stream. Waylark says, good to see Microsoft focus more on third-party development. Yeah, to some people, this may be seen as a good thing, because as Microsoft begins to exit, you know, certain markets over time, it becomes more of an indicator that, yeah, you know, they're just kind of giving up on the console. They're leaning more so into third party. No, guys. No. No, I'm pretty sure it's just a virus. Just a virus causing a sore throat. Nothing to see here, people. What is wrong with my viewers? What is wrong with you guys? But yeah, we're going to be talking about that. We have a couple of other topics, such as Astrobot and the PlayStation Portal selling better than expected. We'll talk about that. We have a report that I may cover, depending on a God of War saga, potentially. And yeah, we'll just go over this stuff. We'll kind of flow with it, see where it takes us. But yeah, so guys, listen, before we dive deeper into any of these topics, I do want to, again, just thank you for watching. I want to give a shout out to everybody who watches live, but also give a shout out to those who can't catch the streams live, but watch them later on. I know that not everybody can catch the streams live, but you still support the content. So thank you guys. Do me a favor, hit that like button. We're currently sitting at 64 likes. Let's see if we can bump that up to 75 likes and make our way to the 100 like mark. It's the easiest way for you to let me know that you enjoy the content. And if you want to help the stream out, that's the easiest way to do it. Before we proceed, I want to let you guys know a couple of ways you can help support the channel directly. We are completely fan funded. I'm only able to produce this content because you guys make it possible for me to do so. You guys are the sponsors of the channel. First, you could become a channel member, gain access to exclusive perks such as members exclusive content, members lounges, exclusive members gameplay streams, and some random bonus stuff that we do occasionally as well. If you're already a channel member, consider gifting memberships. A lot of people really appreciate the membership gifts. And then the third way is you can donate a super chat, ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between. There is a fourth bonus way. There's a direct donation link at the top of the chat that you can treat it just like a super chat, but 100% of what you donate goes towards the content creator. So, yeah, consider supporting the channel directly. And just a big shout out and thank you to every community member here that does fan fund and make this possible. But we are going to start out with the situation that's going on here where the PlayStation 5 is essentially beginning to push Xbox to leave certain markets. Okay? And I'm seeing some very bizarre behavior from the Xbox community. All right? I've been witnessing some very bizarre behavior from the Xbox community. It's been really, I guess, maybe not surprising in a way, because right now Xbox is in the strangest position that they've probably ever been in. And as we continue to see, I guess, the dust settle, if you will, and we start to see like where PlayStation is versus where Xbox is, the directions they're heading in, it becomes clearer and clearer, I think, to a certain group of Xbox players that, you know, Xbox as a brand is going to be fine. Xbox as a publisher is clearly going to be fine, but Xbox in the way that we knew it is not fine. Xbox in the console space is not fine. And the reality of the situation is that PlayStation just utterly destroyed Xbox in the console space, and it's been getting worse and worse and worse for Xbox, while PlayStation seems to be doing just fine. I mean, there was this intense push to try to convince people that like the PS5 Pro is going to flop and like no one's going to care about it and everybody hates it. And then the reality is exactly what I suspected it would be, where no, a lot of people do want it and a lot of people are excited for it and it's going to do just fine. You know, it's just going to help boost PS5 sales even further. But while all this is going on with PlayStation, you know, Xbox is continuing to seemingly flounder with their consoles. And so I just want to say before we go over this information that I put a video out earlier talking about it, and I encountered a lot, or at least not a lot, maybe that's an exaggeration, but a few comments from people basically saying it's like fake or it's false narratives, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is like, no, there's nothing false about what we're about to go over. If anything, Microsoft is doing the thing that they love to do, which is just frankly pathetic in my opinion, because Microsoft is just a pathetic company where like they just can't be straightforward. They're purposely seemingly trying to leave people confused because they're just terrified. Microsoft is terrified of having any negative headlines written about the Xbox brand or their gaming sector. Rather than just rip the Band-Aid off and just tell people what's actually happening, they want to just continue to mince words and make people just, you know, kind of go back and forth and just create this unnecessary level of confusion. And I'm seeing that right in front of me. But there is a report here from Push Square, and they say, as sales of the Xbox Series X and S continue to collapse, it's beginning to look like the PS5 may have a free run at some markets as Microsoft effectively exits them. While it's still an evolving story with many mixed messages, it sounds like the Redmond firm will cease shipping consoles to Saudi Arabia, giving PlayStation a free run at the market. Earlier this year, the Japanese giant announced the MENA Hero project to help support game developers in the Middle East and North Africa. The story has been rumbling for a little while, but earlier in the week, local journalist Mohammed Al-Bassimi wrote on X that, quote, Microsoft has officially informed stores in Saudi Arabia it will be stopping selling Xbox devices, end quote. He said he'd contacted the company for comment and they had refused to share a statement, hypothesizing if it wasn't true, they would have easily denied it. Windows Central reporter Jez Corden quickly chased the story and published a response from Xbox Chief Consumer Sales Officer Amy Silverman. In it, she said, quote, Xbox devices are available in all current Xbox hardware-supported countries, including Saudi Arabia, end quote. Many pointed out that this wasn't an outright denial, and Microsoft has actually opted not to ship its latest hardware models to the region, suggesting that while the country still has existing inventory of the console for sale, it may not be getting any more. Of course, this could be a stock management exercise, especially if the console isn't selling particularly well in the country. Some other major retailers, in the region have since come out to claim they've received correspondence from Microsoft that they won't be getting any further stock, but the details still seem somewhat murky. Why does this matter? Well, it effectively means PS5 could become the only option in some countries. Obviously, Sony still has strong competition from PC, Nintendo Switch, and other forms of entertainment, but it may be about to seize control of the high-powered console market. To make matters worse for Microsoft, year-on-year declines in Europe means it's estimated PS5 is now outselling Xbox Series X and S on the continent by approximately 10 to 1. Markets like Saudi Arabia may be small in the grand scheme of things, but we could see Microsoft begin to pull out of other countries if these trends continue. So to kind of follow up on this a little bit further, give me 1 second to bring it up, if I can find it. So it mentioned that Jez Corden essentially reached out to Microsoft for clarification. And, again, this is seemingly Microsoft doing everything in their power to prevent like panic, I guess, or like negativity, even though something is very clearly happening where it's like, okay, guys, just say it. Just let people know, like, you're not restocking Xboxes in Saudi Arabia. And there were earlier reports, by the way, or there were seemingly some reports prior to this that seemed to indicate that Microsoft was considering doing something very similar in Europe. And we just read that, dude, the PS5 is stomping the Xbox consoles in Europe 10 to 1. 10 to 1. It's that's brutal. And so again, this is where I'm going to highlight that Jez Corden posted on Twitter. He says, just want to apologize to, and he tags the journalist, the Saudi journalist that originally talked about this and pointed out that like seemingly Xbox is done, with hardware in the region. And Jez Corden says, I want to apologize to them and the TG team for some misunderstandings over translations and such. Like I wrote here, I corroborated that stock levels will be impacted in some regions due to holiday sales seasons in the United States, but deny the subsequent rumors that Xbox is planning a, quote, full exit in some regions. There's no indication of that right now, but Xbox still needs to do more in the region and globally, really. So, what is really, I guess, just kind of telling here is we're seeing the same exact, I guess, rollout of events take place that occurred just before Microsoft went full-blown, seemingly third party, right? Or at least very close, maybe not full third party, but indicated that, yeah, we're going to start bringing our games to PlayStation. There is this tweet that is constantly used against Jez Corden where he came out when all these rumors were happening and he said nobody is, like Xbox is not going to be bringing their games to PlayStation. That's just fanboy copium. And people constantly use this against him now because it's like, dude, you were dead wrong. Like you were as wrong as you could have been in terms of that's exactly what they did. And obviously, the reason why it's important to point this out is because you see the diehard Xbox fans clinging on to anything they can to convince themselves that these things are not happening, to convince themselves that, well, yeah, maybe Microsoft isn't going to put their games on PlayStation. Oh, they actually are. Okay, well, maybe Microsoft isn't actually exiting markets yet. Okay. All right. You want to tell yourself that there's ample evidence that they're already in the process of doing that, and they're going to continue to do that. And it just seems pretty clear to me that all of this is in the name of seemingly just Microsoft getting away from the console, getting away from the console market, getting away from competition. And obviously, this leads us into the other side of the conversation where it's like, well, is this good or bad for PlayStation? How should PlayStation fans feel about this? Will, you're saying it's time for Xbox players to trade in the Xbox at GameStop and use the money to get a PS5 Pro. It's Jover. Well, I mean, yeah, it pretty much is. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it's fine, I guess, right? It is over, but it's fine, I guess, if you want to stick with Xbox. But the reality is that we went from assuming that Xbox was going to make Activision Blizzard games exclusive, Xbox was going to make Bethesda games exclusive, Xbox was going to double down on their own console, Xbox was also maybe going to make a mid-gen refresh to compete with the PS5 Pro, and they're not doing literally any of that. They're not doing literally any of that. They're doing the opposite of all of those things, and now we are starting to see them slowly but surely pull out of markets where it's like, yeah, we're just not really going to be restocking Xboxes here. I don't blame them. Why would you? Why would you restock Xboxes in a region where people are not buying them? People are buying PlayStations. And they're going to continue to buy PlayStations. And the PS5 Pro is only going to continue to push people to buy PlayStations. So as Sony is coming out here and basically revealing the PS5 Pro, doubling down on the console space, whether you think the PS5 Pro is worth it or not, we've already had that conversation. But there's a base PS5, there's a PS5 Pro, they're doubling down in the console space. As Sony is doing that, Microsoft is doing the opposite. There's no word on a mid-gen refresh. In fact, Phil Spencer even said that the Xbox Series X is our mid-gen refresh. And now they're beginning to inform certain retailers that we're not planning on restocking. And again, you can't really blame Microsoft here because nobody is buying Xboxes. You can blame them for the reason why people are not buying Xboxes, but you can't blame them for basically deciding we're just going to stop. We're going to stop sending this hardware to places where people are not buying it. It's just sitting there. Yeah, I guess that's true, Unknown. You're saying they have like the 2 terabyte console as a refresh. I guess, but even then, like, it just seems like it was kind of a throwaway thing from Microsoft's part. But what does this mean for PlayStation? Well, what's interesting about scenarios like this is, you know, people very quickly turn on PlayStation. We're like, well, this isn't good. PlayStation's going to become the villain. PlayStation's already becoming the villain. They're going to do whatever they want because there's no competition. And I just need to remind people that you cannot, I say you cannot. You can if you want. You can if you want. But it would be, I think, a bit disingenuous to insinuate or just flat out state that Sony's the bad guy here, when in reality, like, Sony just did their job and they did it well. And Microsoft didn't. It's just a strange thing, in my opinion, to be mad at the company who won and the brand that won and not the one that lost, and they lost because of their own doing. You know, some people, it's weird because I almost see some people kind of treating Microsoft and Xbox as like a victim or something, which is just really strange to me, where it's like, you know, it's kind of like the position that Microsoft took during the ABK deal, where they're like, well, Sony beat the shit out of us and it wasn't fair. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? You had all of these opportunities to, like, clap back and do your thing and, you know, stick it to them, I guess, right? And you chose not to, or you just fumbled the ball. You had plenty of opportunities to make a play. Cyberpunk is saying scary what Sony may start charging for PlayStation in the future. Yeah, there's obviously that risk. There's absolutely that risk that if this trend continues and Microsoft, just as the months and years go on, it just becomes very clear that, yeah, Xbox is done, bro. Like in the console space, it's just Sony and Nintendo. And Sony doesn't necessarily feel threatened by Nintendo at this moment in time. So basically, Sony commands the high-end console market with no competition. I mean, yeah, it's obviously concerning. Like, Sony could get crazy. And that's the thing is, like, if they do, it's going to be up to the market to decide, like, how much power they're willing to give Sony. A lot of people right now view the PlayStation 5 Pro as that's already too much. We've already given Sony too much power by allowing them to do this, but I've tried to explain to people that this isn't really the appropriate time to be flexing that. Save it. The PS5 Pro is not the time to say, Sony, you're out of control, because the PS5 Pro is optional. The PS5 Pro is a mid-gen console. If people want to, if people are going to have that kind of energy, then it's best reserved for, I would say, more appropriate things. The things that people are raging about right now in terms of what they're angry about with Sony, they're all optional things that are not mandatory and or necessary in order for you to enjoy your PlayStation experience. And that's why I'm telling people, like, hold. You know what I mean? Like, hold. We don't know. We don't know. Wait till the PlayStation 6. Let's see what happens. Wait till Microsoft reveals their hand in full. Because we don't know. We don't know how the next generation is going to play out. But this is just, it's crazy to me that it's like, this is possibly the worst outcome for Xbox that I could have foreseen. Where, going back to like 2015, 16, and 17, thinking like, damn, Microsoft, you need to get your shit together. Sony's out here making you guys look like fools. They're running laps around you. You need to get it together. You need to start competing at a higher level. And, it starts by building that momentum. And that just never happened. And now people, I do see people saying like, man, I hope Microsoft starts to compete. I hope Microsoft starts to do better against PlayStation. I hope this happens. And it's like, it's not. I mean, I try not to predict the future that often, but it's not going to happen. And the reason why it's not going to happen is because of Activision Blizzard King. It's because Microsoft bought ABK. The reality is that PlayStation is now, it's an integral part of Microsoft's success. I mean, if anything, that PlayStation is Microsoft's biggest moneymaker now. One of their biggest moneymakers. And that was non-existent prior to the ABK deal. That was non-existent prior to the acquisition of Bethesda. And this is why I always find it comical that Microsoft tried to make it seem like we need to buy Bethesda and we need to buy Activision Blizzard in the name of competition, because we need to compete. Sony isn't letting us compete. Sony's locking down exclusives. They're doing deals with games like Call of Duty, marketing deals, and look at how badly they're beating us in Europe. I remember the whole thing that played out, and Microsoft, they played the regulators because they're like, we just want to compete. Sony is the big bad guy here. They're eating our lunch. They're not letting us compete, while simultaneously ignoring their own failures, ignoring their own competence. And they basically tried to convince everybody that if we get Activision Blizzard, if we get Bethesda, then we'll be able to properly compete. And then they get Activision Blizzard, and then they get Bethesda, and now they're doing the opposite of competing. They're doing the opposite of competing. They're like, you know what? Actually, never mind. Seems like it's too late. We don't actually give a shit about the console market. We're just going to continue to do our own thing. We're going to be a massive third-party publisher and rake in the money from PlayStation, and now we're going to try to push Gamepass harder with Call of Duty, but that's not the type of competition that Microsoft claimed that they were going to be pushing for. And it's unfortunate, man. At least I think it is. Michael Lynch with a $10 super chat says, another ridiculous comment about how Sony is going to overcharge in the future. They are not overcharging with the Pro. That is how much that tech costs. They're not going to do that with PlayStation 6. Yeah, that's the thing. I do think that people get a little bit ridiculous, Michael, with their assumptions and like, Sony's going to like flip us upside down and shake our pockets. It's like, no, man, it's not going to be all that. Like, does Sony want profit? Yes. Is Sony going to hide that fact, especially if they're not threatened by competition? No, they're not going to hide that fact. Like, for example, the PS5 Pro, you're right. Like, the PS5 Pro, for what it's offering, I wouldn't say Sony couldn't get away with charging, or that they couldn't charge less for it. They could, but basically, let me put it to you this way, Michael. If Sony had to deal with a $600 mid-gen refresh from Xbox, it was the exact same tech, right? Like, there's a mid-gen Xbox, like the Xbox Series Elite and the PS5 Pro, and the Xbox Series Elite was just as powerful and just as capable. But it was $600. Would Sony still charge $700? Probably not. Steven Leon coming in, dropping 20 membership gifts, coming in with the 20 bomb out of nowhere. Steven going crazy. He's going crazy today. And he drops another 5. Guys, I need to see W's flowing in the chat right now for our good friend Steven Leon. He comes in and immediately drops a 25 bomb to destroy and obliterate the goal. W's in the chat for Steven. Bro, thank you so much for that. That's genuinely surprising. That came out of nowhere, man. Steven's been doing some heavy lifting for this community lately, and we really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Let me give you a...
Holy shit.
Well, we got to feed the beast now. Michael, I do have more to say about your super chat, so don't worry. I do have more to say. But let me update this goal. Yeah, guys, if you want to keep a member train going here, Steven just absolutely obliterated the first goal for you guys. By all means, you guys are the sponsors of the channel. I can only have these conversations with you because you make it possible. So give me 1 second here and we'll continue our conversation. And I need to get these treats out though. Boss.
Boss, do you read me? It's time to feed the beast.
Don't fight. Don't fight. Don't fight. These cats, man, they're just fighting each other now. Steven says, love the people here most of the time, LOL. Here you go, man. Here, Luna. Really appreciate it, Steven. It's very kind of you to drop so many membership gifts like that. I don't know if you guys can see Luna. She's like below me here eating. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean though, Steven. Most of the time. But Michael, I wanted to say that if Sony had more competition from Microsoft right now, would they be as comfortable trying to extract more profit from their products? Probably not. I mean, maybe. Who knows? Maybe Sony would still be okay with just being like, we're still going to charge $700 because, I mean, you know, Microsoft can be, their console can be the same power, offer the same power and capabilities the PS5 Pro and be $100 less, but does it really matter? So we could see Sony still kind of take that position, but I think what people need to understand is that Sony is at a point right now where they no longer have to sell their consoles either at a loss or at just, you know, on the razor's edge to just break even. They are now in a position where they can sell a console like the Pro. I can't say this for the PlayStation 6 because we do not know, but they can sell the Pro and make a handsome profit. They're able to do that. And that, like, I'm just going to be blunt with people, man. And people can call me a shill. People can call me a fanboy. They're going to call me that regardless. But this is just the truth. If you care about the health of the PlayStation brand and you want to see Sony continue to grow it and you want to see them continue to make enough profit to be able to justifiably reinvest in future projects and future hardware, then Sony deciding that they want to make a decent profit, or at least some profit, out of the gate with the Pro console, an optional mid-gen refresh that's supposed to target the most hardcore enthusiasts, that's not really something that you should be so upset about, because truthfully, it's like, it doesn't affect you in any way, and it can only like really honestly help the PlayStation brand. But I mean, I know how people take that. People take that as like, that's just fanboyism or whatever. But it's like, well, really think about it though. Like, you don't think there's truth to that? You don't think there, like, look at Sony's most recent earnings. Look at how their profit margins are shrinking. Like, you don't see that they're not in a free fall. That's not true. But people don't seem to be understanding of the fact that as Sony's profit margins continue to shrink, it's going to create a lot of strain within the PlayStation brand, where you're going to see projects scale down. You're going to see less money being thrown at certain projects. You're going to see everything kind of shrink to a degree. As those profit margins shrink, the brand has to kind of pivot to match that, unless they can prevent those profit margins from shrinking and extract more profit from their games, their products, their hardware. And that's the thing. I guess what I'm trying to say to you is, if Sony making a profit off of the PS5 Pro is something that bothers you and makes you feel like they're being too greedy, then the good news is you don't have to buy it. You can just buy a regular PS5, which Sony still makes a small profit off of, but probably not nearly as much as they're going to make on the Pro. And it's fine. You know, like, nobody had a problem with the PS5 being $500, and still nobody has a problem with it. So when it comes to, assuming, and I think that's kind of what Michael's getting at here, is like the assumption that Sony's just going to go crazy with charging everything. I mean, could they take it too far? Absolutely. They could take it too far. They could come out next generation and be like, we're charging $85 for our games now. It's like, I don't think that's going to go down well. I don't think people are going to be okay with that, But Sony has to keep things within reason. That's the reality. If Sony gets too crazy with it, if they go too far, I mean, I'll be honest, I think Sony has already been operating in this way. And I think people maybe are not fully aware of that. Think about it. DualSense Edge, $200 premium controller. PS Portal, $200 streaming handheld. You look at PSVR 2. PSVR 2, $550, more expensive than the actual console. Now the PS5 Pro, $700 premium console. I feel like Sony's been doing this already. And there's just been this constant fervor, I guess. And Sony was the first one, by the way, with the PS5. $70 for our exclusives, or for our games. And everybody got mad at them, but the truth is, like, everybody was going to follow suit. This is the direction the industry was going in, whether Sony decided to make that announcement or not. And I just think that it's been made pretty clear by this point. Like, look at the Series S, man. The Series S is the cheapest option for next gen out there right now. And it's stalling. People are not buying it. People are not supporting it. People are walking away from Xbox. Think about the message that the market is sending. The PS Portal's selling incredibly well. The PS5 Pro is selling out here and there. The PS5 Pro is seemingly doing fine. The DualSense Edge is like one of the top selling accessories every month. People are spending more money on the PS5 than they ever have. Sony, you know, even though Sony's still struggling to make that profitability. So I'm saying you look at that and then, but it's like, but there's a $250, $300 Series S out there right now. There you go. There's a cheap alternative. There's a cheap console that can save you money. And people aren't buying it. So this is why I'm saying, like, for as much complaining as people do about, like, man, the prices and the greed and this and that and it's like, it's all too expensive. It's like, well, it's working. Like, the market is speaking. The market is making it clear that they're pretty cool. They're fine with what Sony's doing. And sometimes, yeah, there are like these waves of hate that PlayStation gets that they, I guess, are forced to respond to, where it's like they're making some kind of bizarre decision that's like, you guys should probably think this one through, but that's separate from what we're talking about. We're just talking about just the sheer business reality of Sony is giving, they have a hardware ecosystem where they're giving you a shit ton of options, and all of those options, like, none of them are required for the base experience. The only thing that's required for a base PlayStation experience, outside of, you know, paying for online multiplayer, is a $500 purchase for the console. Everything else is extra. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to subscribe to PlayStation Plus Extra, if you want the better controller, if you want the better hardware, if you want the premium headset, that's all extra. That's all optional. PSVR 2. So I guess I'm just saying, like, we're already seeing it. And I guess, like, the next logical step is people are, like, in fear. They're like, well, is Sony going to remove the options? It's like, why would they? If they want their ecosystem to shrink, sure. If they want less people to come in, sure. But that's antithetical to what Sony actually wants. Sony actually wants their ecosystem to grow. They want to get more people in it. But they want to do so without bleeding money. And that's exactly what Microsoft wants as well, but they just can't achieve it. Amazon Fire Stick beats the Pro. Hollywood Will Burn says, and Moonshot, by the way, I did see your direct donations. I'll read them as well. Hollywood Will Burn says, Silent Hill 2 Remake passed Resident Evil 7 Steam charts. I'm not surprised. Hollywood Will Burn. I think 14 hours into, I think I'm very close to beating. Yeah, I know I'm actually very close to completing Silent Hill 2 Remake, and I'm not surprised, dude. I'm telling you, I'm not. I feel like I'm not seeing enough people talking about Silent Hill 2. I guess I'm guilty of this as well, where, like, Bloober Team fucking killed it. Like, I'm just in shock, man. Like, I was kind of waiting to reach a point in the game. Is Silent Hill 2 supposed to be very dark inside the buildings? Yeah, mostly, yeah. Especially later in the game, it's intentionally supposed to be very dark. I admit, like, it gets to a point where it can almost, like, I don't want to say become annoying, but it becomes difficult to, like, properly navigate certain areas, but that's kind of the point. It's supposed to make you feel very unsettled, uncomfortable, and just kind of, like, almost disoriented in some way. But Bloober Team, I'm just, like, astonished, man. I had no idea. I had no idea they were actually going to, like, straight up make a masterpiece with this remake. Like, this is a masterpiece remake. And I'll be honest with you, man. I think I might be enjoying this. Maybe I'd have to go back and replay Resident Evil 2 Remake. Some people might think this is a hot take, but I think I might be enjoying Silent Hill 2 Remake more than Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I think it might be because Silent Hill 2 Remake leans more so into the horror aspect, it's a psychological horror aspect. And I'm just like, oh man, it's so good. So good. So I'm not really too surprised to hear about that. I'm really curious to see what Konami does with Bloober Team next, because if I was Konami, man, even I would be surprised. I'd be like, holy shit. Wow. I mean, I was not familiar with your game, Bloober Team. Am I playing in quality? I played probably the first 2 hours in quality mode, but then I switched it to performance, and I'm not going to lie. I ended up enjoying that. I ended up enjoying the performance mode way better. So I'm like, I'm just going to stick with that. By the way, I see that JD Gamer has dropped a super chat. The last time JD Gamer was dropping super chats, one of my mods, I don't know if, I don't remember exactly what happened, but one of my mods ended up like timing him out. Listen, when it comes to super chats, because I'm reading them directly, I will determine if they should be timed out or not, okay? Unless it's something just totally like, if it's any kind of like hate speech or something like that, then by all means, mods, do what you got to do, But when it comes to, challenging super chats, I want to make it clear that that's not a good reason to, Silent Spartan saying, what's your chair called? I want to buy one. Dude, this chair is amazing. I got to be honest. And Mrs. MBG has been sitting on it sometimes, and she keeps like joking around being like, I'm about to roll this thing out into the living room because it's that comfortable. If you give me 1 second, I will tell you what the name of this chair is, because I don't even know. It's not like a popular brand. Let me see if I can find it. I'll just post the link in the chat for you. It's called, my God, it doesn't even really have a name, I don't think. The only name I see here is Exibet. EXCEBET. But I will actually post the link to this chair. I'm not getting any commission on it. Damn it. What am I doing? Although what's interesting is it seems like the black one may be sold out because it says CL buying options. Dude, why is the only option available $650? This chair was not $650 when I bought it. Let me see. Oh, no. Okay, here we go. That was the wrong one. Guys. I'm going to send you another one real quick. This is the right one. This is the right one. Yeah, it's like $300 now, I think. I think that's about how much I paid for it. It's a really nice chair, dude. It's extremely comfortable. Like, I feel like I'm straight up sitting in a recliner. So, I recommend it. And I'm not sponsored or anything. It is a huge chair. Yeah. It like dwarfs my old chair. People keep saying, man, it looks like a throne. Kind of feels like one. But hopefully that helps, Silent Spartan. Yeah, guys, by the way, for those who got gifted a membership, go check out the last members lounge we did. I actually assembled this chair live in the members lounge. I also do want to apologize. I know I've been slacking with the members lounges and the members content. I've just been trying to do my absolute best to keep up with regular content production between videos and streams. I'm going to try my best to improve upon the consistency of my members content. The past couple of days I've been pretty sick. I was supposed to do members content on Friday, but I just, my throat gave out on me, my voice. Josh, you're saying, oh, I guess this is in regards to your direct donations. And you're saying, I didn't even mention PSVR 2 games or The Last of Us 2 Remastered. Yeah, let me see what you said here with the direct donation. Give me just a moment to bring that up. say here, just wrapped up Wukong. What a wicked game. Right now, Stellar Blade and Wukong are tied for my game of the year. Trying to get through Astro before my Pro arrives. This is one of the most packed years I can remember for PlayStation. 2022 was awesome with Ragnarok, Forbidden West, and GT7, but this year comes close, to be honest. Helldivers 2, FF7 Rebirth, Wukong, Grand Blue Fantasy, Rise of the Ronin, Stellar Blade, Astrobot, Lego Horizon, Silent Hill 2. That's a effing lot of games. And then you say, and I didn't even mention PSVR 2 games or The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. And yes, see, this is... Josh, I hope you're able to tune in to tomorrow's stream unless something changes. I had planned to do a topic talking about basically how has Sony had a bad year, or have they had a good year thus far, and to just keep it very simple and short and sweet based off of what you're saying here. That is a lot of effing games, dude. It is a lot of games. And I don't know why people continue to try to push a narrative that's just, it's funny because I feel like people accuse me of pushing false narratives. Meanwhile, I'm seeing people out here being like, this year sucked. Sony has no games. Blah, blah. It's like, okay. I think anybody who has a PS5 is well aware that Sony definitely had a solid year. Maybe not all the games appealed to you. Not all of Sony's games appealed to me either this year. And that's okay. But you can't treat it like it's nothing, But Josh /Moonshot, thank you so much, bro, for the direct donations. Alan L. Gould says Xbox doesn't have games. Xbox is boring. Starfield sucks. Game Pass is trash. Players don't care about Game Pass. That's a fact and truth. God damn. Alan Gould, he just can't stop himself, man. I feel like Alan Gould, he's got that itch, I imagine Alan Gould, he's just sitting there sometimes and just randomly blurts out like, Xbox sucks. Nobody likes Game Pass. Just for like no reason. Nobody's even saying anything. But, I mean, is there truth? Is there truth to what Alan says? I don't know. I will say this. I'll at least say this, Alan. Not to defend Xbox, right? Because that's the thing. People don't like when I defend Xbox. It's like, no, MBG, we're supposed to clip you and shit. You're making our jobs harder. But in all seriousness, it does seem like Xbox's upcoming lineup has some potential. I gotta admit. I mean, games like Indiana Jones, games like Stalker. I know people are excited for Avowed. And, it's ironic, though, because, like, these games, most of them are coming to PlayStation. Indiana Jones is coming to PS5. Stalker is going to be coming to PS5. As far as I'm aware, it's a timed exclusive. Silent Spartan, you're saying, did you get my gifted members? Silent Spartan, I did not, bro. The only thing I got from you, Silent Spartan, was a $2 super chat, so I don't think they went through, man. How many did you drop? $15. You're saying you dropped those member gifts on this stream today? Dude, they didn't come up. I have Steven Leon. So Silent Spartan, what I would really like you to do to confirm to me, if you're able to, if it went through or not, if you're able to, check your account. Your bank says they went through. See that? Whoa. Well, okay, I have to see now. I'm going to need some help from the chat now to figure this out. I'm going to need to on my screen, I have like two different ways of checking to see what fan funding I got today. And as of right now, the only super chats I'm seeing, or member gifts, are from Steven Leon from both directions. This is highly concerning. Give me a second. I want to see if I can... see if there's another way I can figure this out. Wow. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is freaking me out. This is freaking me out because it's like, how many other people have been dropping membership gifts and they're just not showing up? I don't even know now. I'm gonna have to contact YouTube. That's pretty serious. Saying never had that happen before. Yeah, what's freaking me out the most is you're saying you checked and well, Jay Shako saying it just didn't go through. No, Silent Spartan saying he checked his bank account and YouTube took the money. Check it from my phone. Let me see. Silent Spartan, do you know approximately how long ago? Says it's pending. That's really bizarre, dude. And you're saying this has never happened to you before. It's never... Well, that's the thing. YouTube cannot keep that money if they didn't go through. You're saying it was shortly after your super chat. And you're positive it was like during this stream, right? I'm just like, is it a possibility, Silent Spartan? I don't know. I'm spitballing right now. Is it a possibility you accidentally gifted on a different stream? I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but like, I don't know. I've never heard of this. Because that's unbelievably annoying for both of us. Because you're out here dropping memberships. You're saying it was when I was talking about the Pro. God damn it, dude. I will have to contact YouTube after this because that's very problematic. Especially you're saying they took your money. No membership gifts came through. I see Paul just dropped a membership gift. So Paul, thank you for that. Yours went through. The only other thing I'm thinking is like, would they have maybe, are they going to reject it or something? That's so bizarre, man. That just frustrates me a lot because I know you guys, a lot of people do care about gifting memberships and dropping those memberships for the community. And as I say that, Steven Leon drops 20. Steven says, I got you, Silent Spartan. Steven Leon drops another 20 memberships on you guys. Holy shit. Make that 25. Steven Leon drops, holy shit, dude, Steven Leon basically drops another 50 bomb. I'm going to give a shout out to Silent Spartan as well, bro. I feel bad. Silent Spartan apparently said he dropped 15 membership gifts and for some reason they didn't show up. They didn't go through. And I know he's good for it. He's dropped membership gifts on the channel before. And Hellbound 1981 drops another 5 bomb. Holy shit, you guys are absolutely obliterating the goals today. So Steven, bro, thank you for having Silent Spartans back here. And Hellbound, thank you for dropping another 5. Hellbound the legend. Always here dropping those gifts. That brings us up to 57. That's what I got. We'll have to do some reps at the end of the stream. This will be my first time doing reps in this throne. But yeah, it says on my end, we received 57 membership gifts today in total. So yeah, I'll look into this, Silent Spartan. When this stream's done, I'll have to contact YouTube support and see what they say. And hopefully they'll have an answer, and maybe by tomorrow I'll be able to figure out what's going on. And Nero comes in and drops another 5 bomb on you guys. RPG88 drops a single. That's 6 more memberships gifted. You guys got a full-blown member train going right now. Love to see it, man. Love to see it. Yeah, all aboard the member train. I'm going to be trying my absolute best to provide you guys with more members content this week. Like I said, I've been slacking a little bit. I seemingly got sick, and I'm trying my best to keep up. But this week, I think it'll be a good week. I think we'll get some more members content out there. So to anybody who just got gifted, please look forward to that. And to anybody who is dropping the membership gifts, thank you so much. Furious Legacy Gaming says, I'm the only one who didn't get a membership. Well, hang tight, man. We got a lot of very generous community members here. You might be able to end up receiving one. Original Gamer says, yo, I received a membership thanks to the generosity of MBG's community. Thank you. I'm poor and I appreciate you guys. Well, we got your back, man. Yeah, we have an amazingly generous community here. A lot of people who are very supportive of what we do in this community. So thank you guys so much. That situation with Silent Spartan is going to be like a splinter in my mind, though, until I figure it out. That really worries me because you know what's crazy, Silent Spartan, is I had no idea. Like, if you didn't say anything, I would have literally never known. I wouldn't have known if that money went through to the account, or if those memberships were actually gifted, or if YouTube basically just took the money and ran. You know? So I will be looking into that, and I'll be sure to get back to you, because that's very concerning to me. But for now, the show must go on. You know, I have one other question. This is the last question before I move on. Silent Spartan, do you gift or donate on other channels? I'm wondering I'm just wondering if it has something to do with like YouTube's back end or something, where they're like getting shit mixed up or whatever. You do? Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm just trying to get as much information as I can, because YouTube, they're not very helpful with this type of stuff, but it always makes me feel very uncomfortable when people are like, bro, I just dropped some money on the channel. It's just like, YouTube isn't letting me know. So, all right, but we'll keep this going here. Thank you guys so much for all the membership gifts. I still have some super chats to read. Let's see. Alex Mercer says, pre-ordered the PS5 Pro yesterday at GameStop. Only selling 6 of them. Also turns out I have about $649 in trade credit because I had a second trade card, LOL. Well, goddamn, dude. Goddamn. That sounds like you're covered then. $649 in credit. I mean, at that point, you're paying what, like $50? $50 out of pocket? That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Let me update this member goal, by the way. We're currently at 63 members. So we'll keep pushing for goals, by the way. We'll push for 75. If we get 75, we'll push for 100. We'll cap it at 100. We'll see if we can hit that 100 mark today, boys. See if we could do it. But good stuff, Alex Mercer. We have a JD Gamer. He says, the market has said that 30 million Xbox Series consoles have sold. That's more than the Wii U, Dreamcast, and Virtual Boy combined. Xbox is doing fine. You don't have to be the number one to be successful. Ask Pepsi. So I will say this, JD Gamer, I actually completely agree. Believe it or not, I completely agree with what you're saying. And I agree that you don't have to be number one to carve out your own level of success in a given market, to be, I guess you could say, content with how you're performing in a given market. But the one thing I will say here, I don't think he was being sarcastic. The one thing I will say, though, that is problematic in this case, JD Gamer, is that what you're saying, Microsoft themselves disagree with. And that, to me, is the problem. And the reason why I say this, JD Gamer, is because the way you're presenting this is that Microsoft is happy. Hey, we got 30 million consoles sold. That's great for us. I think Phil Spencer might be happy, but Phil's not the board of Microsoft. Phil has to report to the CEO and the CFO of Microsoft. And I think Phil is probably like, 30 million, that's something. You know, that's a good chunk. I will say, like 30 million people, that's a lot of people. You're right. Like there are units out there. There are people who play on Xbox. And the problem is, I think Microsoft has made it pretty clear as a company that they're not okay with that. You know, Microsoft is the same company that at the beginning of the Xbox One generation stated, we want to sell 200 million Xbox Ones. That was how ambitious they were. And you got to admire the ambition. Like, wow, man, you guys really want to grow this thing. You really want to push it. And that's fine. But Microsoft is a very, very, very high performing company. Microsoft has made it clear time and time again that they are not okay being Pepsi. They are not okay being second or third place. They're either going to be number one or they're going to be partnered with number one. But they're not going to settle for second, third, or fourth place. They're just not going to do that. And that's why I fear that, you know, because think about it. Like what you're saying is that even though Microsoft can't win, they'll still continue to compete. But I fear that that's not what we're seeing, JD Gamer. I fear that what we're seeing is a Microsoft that looks at 30 million consoles sold and they say, what are we even doing? And I to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised, dude, if Phil Spencer's the only reason the Xbox console still exists. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm pretty sure that if the entire board of Microsoft had their way, I think they would have abandoned console a long time ago. I think that there are a lot of people internally at Microsoft that are way more involved now with the Xbox division because of the ABK deal, that they don't care about the Xbox console. You know, Satya Nadella himself said, like, I have no love for exclusives. I have no love for that world. If it were up to me, there wouldn't be any. And what is he saying? He's saying, I would want to be a third-party publisher. Because surely he has to be aware that, well, if you don't have any exclusives, you're going to have a hard time selling any... You're going to have a hard time selling any consoles, you know, or any of your hardware. What is that noise? It's like some weird noise coming from over there, and I don't know what it is. Sorry, I keep checking to see if those membership gifts that Silent Spartan dropped end up going through or not. I'm just kind of like refreshing the fan funding page. Yeah, Silent Spartan, if you're still here, man, just do me a favor. I don't know if you're going to be here for the entire stream. If you decide to head out before you go, just let me know if it still says it's pending or not. Like if it goes through or if it just gets removed or something. Just so I know when I go to contact YouTube what to tell them. All right. But yeah, JD Gamer, I get what you're saying, man. Wow, you're saying you tried another gift, but it's still pending. So 16 total memberships. Yeah, I have no idea why. I mean, the only other thing I've encountered like this before is a long time ago. Corey Landiga, he was trying to drop more member gifts, but his bank basically like just wouldn't let him for one reason or another. They were just like, no. They just like froze his card or whatever. I guess because they thought it was like hacked or something. So I don't know if maybe it's something like that, but I guess we'll find out. Jay Shocker is saying that is what's happening. Yeah. I appreciate it though, Silent Spartan. I just feel so bad. I hate that type of shit because it makes me feel like, man, everybody's losing out here. But yeah, JD Gamer, you're right. The Xbox Series X or Series consoles have done better than the Wii U, the Dreamcast, the Virtual Boy, but does that matter to Microsoft? I mean, we know they are going to make another console, but what does that mean? Like, how does Microsoft from a higher level? What is that? How do they view that? Do they just view that as like, yeah, we'll just do it because we have to? I don't know. Broccoli Rob, you're saying MBG, can I borrow $1? Broccoli Rob, I'm going to say no, bro. Didn't you just win 20K? You don't need my $1. You give me $1. Wait, you did give me $2. Thank you, Broccoli Rob. Thank you for the $1. Thank you for letting me borrow $1. You know, the irony, by the way, Broccoli Rob, the irony is that it does, I think, equate to about $1. A little bit more than that, but, you know. Nasser the Master says, I'm from Saudi Arabia. This is for every 1,000 PlayStation sold, 1 Xbox is sold. Oh my Lord. Nasser, bro, that's brutal. That's brutal, man. For every 1,000 PlayStation sold, there's 1 Xbox sold. Well, again, no wonder why Microsoft is going to dip out. Shit. Bobby Means with a super chat says, is there any potential for PS1 games on PS5 with the PlayStation Portal's success? Is there any potential for PS1 games on the PS5 with PS Portal success? I'm trying to understand what you mean here, Bobby, because if I'm not mistaken, PS1, well, I know I'm not mistaken. There are PS1 games on the PS5 right now. Sony has been releasing classics and updating them. For example, we just got Dino Crisis, which is part of, I'm pretty sure you can buy it a la carte, but I know it's also part of PlayStation Plus. So I'm not, does anybody understand what Bobby's trying to say here? I feel like I don't fully understand. Nasser, you're saying at the top 100 on Amazon, there's 4 PS5s being sold by 4 different sellers. Xbox isn't on the top 100 list. Sheesh. Yeah, I don't know, man. It just seems like the days of, you know, intense competition in the console market between Sony and Microsoft are seemingly over, and that to me is sad. I mean, I guess the question we have to ask is Sony really, are they truly going to become the villain? Because this seems to be what everybody thinks. And I'm not sold on that idea. I guess it boils down to expectations. And this is why I tried really hard to warn people. I tried really hard to warn people that you need to be careful how much you buy into Microsoft's marketing around things like Game Pass, around giving you the best deal in gaming. And I want to caution people now, once again, be careful. I understand Call of Duty Black Ops 6, a game I'm excited to play. It's coming out day one on Game Pass. Game Pass is still, in the eyes of most subscribers, if not all of the subscribers, still a good deal, even with the price increase. And this is fine. But be careful, because understand that Microsoft is in the same business that Sony is at the end of the day. They may not be competing for the same market share necessarily, but they are still in the same business. And that is the business of making profit, high profit margins. And I've tried to tell people that Microsoft was able to offer such good deals for so long to get into their ecosystem because it was all in the name of we're going to just get volume. We're going to get so many people in the door that it won't matter that we're charging only $10 a month. It won't matter, right? Like, because we're going to have so many monthly subscribers, we're going to make so much recurring revenue, it'll easily justify it. And that didn't happen. And what happened? What happened was price increases. And suddenly, people are asking the question again, well, is this worth it? Now, granted, people are still coming to the conclusion that it is worth it. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that the idea of Sony becoming the villain is really not too far out. There's a common theme, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And it's that none of these companies are really going to be the good guys. They will try to appeal to you and come off as like, yeah, we care about the consumer first. We're very pro-consumer. It's like, sure, they'll do that when it's convenient for them, when they feel like there's something more that they can extract from it that maybe some people are either ignorant to or just fine with. But the moment things start to shift and the slope gets a little bit more slippery, you will see their tune change very quickly. And that's why I just try to encourage people to try to understand that these companies at the end of the day, I think people, and I'm guilty of this myself, people paint them as these like evil entities that just want to like be the worst pieces of shit ever. And it's like that seemingly on occasion does happen, but you have to remove the emotional aspect from it. You have to try to remove, when you're evaluating it, when you're analyzing, you have to remove this because you just need to get down to the bottom line and ask, like, what is their bottom line? What do they want from me and from you and from everybody? And what they want is the same thing. They want as much money as frequently as they can get it from their customer base. And it's up to us to determine whether or not the way in which they're going about doing it is acceptable or not. And this is why it's always important to remember that if you want to know what Microsoft's end game is, Microsoft's end game is we want to get Game Pass onto PlayStation. That's their end game. And as long as you understand that's their end game, then you will understand how vital it is for Microsoft to continue to grow Game Pass, even if it comes at the expense of their console, even if it comes at the expense of their core business model, their own storefront, for God's sake. And I don't know that that's ever going to happen. Yeah, I don't know that that's ever going to happen. It seems unlikely that that would happen, but never say never. A lot of things could change in the next 10 years. I mean, think about it. If Microsoft does officially exit the console market 5 years from now or 8 years from now, and they're done, and they're like, we're never making a console again, we're just done, we're a third-party publisher. Well, Sony's proven that they will let other subscription services from other third-party publishers onto their platform. You know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, what I always try to encourage people do so as not to get lost in a bubble of delusion and to not get too wrapped up in the rhetoric, which, I get wrapped up in sometimes myself. It's hard not to if you're this deeply engaged in the conversation. But the most important thing to do at the end of the day is just look at the data. Look at the numbers. The numbers and the data, they don't lie. And if you want to know what people are okay with, what they are not, if you want to basically get in the mind, so to speak, of Microsoft and of Sony, you have to be able to look at these numbers and look at them in an objective way to really gauge what people are willing to spend their money on and what they're not. Especially now where, economically speaking, things are not in an ideal place, and there's more layoffs happening, there's more cutting down, there's, the prices of everything are continuing to rise. As this continues to happen, these companies will begin to show, their true colors will show through clearer and clearer. And I just think it's funny, man. It's funny how it seems like people are so willing to just kind of go with the flow when the marketing sounds good, when when the pitch sounds good. And I get it. You know, that's the whole thing. It's like, we're selling you, right? You're selling me. You're selling me. But then when reality rears its ugly head, which it always will, you know, people at that point, they either kind of double down and they become deluded, or they completely turn and they're like, F that. And I think that's basically what we're starting to see here with Xbox a little bit. When it comes to PlayStation, I will say, man, for as much animosity and consternation as some people have towards PlayStation at this moment in time, it does seem pretty clear to me that, like, I don't know, man, the data seems to indicate that this wider, or maybe not so wide, conversation that's occurring that is trying to convince me and you and many others that, nah, bro, PlayStation lost its way and they suck now. And they're anti-consumer and they're the worst. The data doesn't seem to indicate that at all. Because something I was very surprised to see, and I was truly, like, surprised to see this, is I was on the PlayStation 5 yesterday, and I went over to the PlayStation Store, and I went to go see, like, what the top pre-ordered games were, and I saw that Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered was, like, I think in the top 5 or 7 or something like that. Like, it was, like, way higher up than I thought. I'm like, what? Like, what? And I don't think that even, does that count the $10? Maybe that's why. Okay. I'll be honest, I didn't look into it that deeply. If it counts the $10 upgrade, all right. Then I take a step back. I didn't think it counted that. Does it let you do that? I didn't check. Does it let you actually pre-order it just by putting the $10 down? All right. In that case, it's not as surprising, but I guess I'm just saying, like, I saw it up there. I saw, Lego Horizon Adventures up there. It was a little bit further down, but it was just a basic indication to me that these things seem to be doing all right. You know what I mean? They seem to be doing all right. Because even if we do look at it as it's the $10 being put down on the Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster, even if, it's $10, it's cheap. It's a cheap upgrade. Even if we are counting that, it at least indicates that people want to play it, right? That people are willing to at least spend that $10 to play this remaster. And even just within that, I think there's something surprising that kind of reveals itself, which is, I would have thought, based off of the internet's reaction, that literally everybody hated this and nobody was interested, even for $10. But what this seems to be telling me is that no, actually, a lot of people are interested in playing this. And this is where I really sincerely wonder if there's just this major disconnect between what the internet has to say, what the internet thinks Sony should do, versus what Sony knows they should do. Because the internet seems to think that Sony should have not wasted their time with this. That these were resources poorly spent. You're spending time, money, and effort remastering a game that came out in 2017 that nobody really asked for to be remastered and still holds up just fine. You should have spent your time, money, and resources on something else. But then if you're Sony, you look at this and you see, wow, it's like a bestseller. A lot of people dropping that. I mean, I know it's only $10, but if enough people drop that $10, that's easy money. And surely there are some people buying it for full price, at least some. And you see that, and at the very least, what Sony seems to be, the message that seems to be communicated to Sony, at that point, is people want to play it. And that's why I always find it hard to fully agree with some of the takes that I see on the internet. Because it's like, listen, I don't always disagree. I'm not super thrilled for the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. I'm not, like, completely against it to where it's like, F you, Sony, it's like not that serious. But yeah, it's like if I had to choose between that getting remastered or something from their Sony's back catalog, I would have chosen something from their back catalog. So I am in agreement with that. But that's where it's like, but if you show me the data and you show me that, no, look at how many people want to play this. What that tells me is that, oh, it's me then. It's me. And I don't like to be that type of person because I see a lot of these types of people where it's like, I don't like this thing, so it just shouldn't exist. It doesn't matter if a lot of other people like it because they're just sheep. They're just brain dead fanboys, sheep, whatever. They don't know any better. They don't know any better. They don't know what they're talking about. Like, to me, that condescending arrogance is like totally uncalled for with stuff like this because it's like, or maybe you're just wrong. You know what I mean? Well, not wrong in the sense that there's nothing wrong with wanting something else, but maybe you're just wrong in that, this maybe was the smarter move because it was a move that they knew would work for them. It was a move that they knew people would support ultimately. But, I do understand where people come from as well. I know I'm basically shifting topics here somewhat, but I do understand that it's like we don't want Sony to get too comfortable with thinking that they should remaster everything just because, right? I say this because, I saw somebody leave a comment on, somebody left a comment on one of my more recent videos, and the video was talking about God of War Ragnarok getting PS5 Pro enhanced. And the top comment was somebody being like, well, we're probably going to end up hearing about God of War 2018 remastered because it seems like it's overdue for a remaster. And it's a snarky, you could tell like it's a snarky comment, like, damn. But I think it's kind of, it's earned because it's like, yeah, they probably will. Saying the market will speak, it's never wrong. People think their own opinions are facts. It's crazy. And that's the thing. People who believe they are smarter or have better taste, they kind of have this approach where it's like, well, people will just eat up whatever slop is thrown at them. And I never quite understood that philosophy or that take because it's like, I think that's true, but to a very small extent. I think the reality is there's only a very, very small percentage of people that would just eat up, so to speak, anything that's thrown at them. That's a very small percentage of people. Most people, like the overwhelming majority of people, will not. If they see something that doesn't interest them, if they're offered something that they don't like, and I think Concord, not to bring it up again, but Concord's a perfect example where they'll just be like, no thanks. Like, they're not going to get crazy about it. Some people, I get crazy about it, but, generally speaking, people are just going to be like, no. And then they just move on. And the company's just left there like, oh, shit. So I guess really what I'm trying to say here is that when we look at this from an overhead view where we have Microsoft beginning to exit certain markets, seemingly exiting Saudi Arabia, slowly but surely that is happening, and they're not denying it. We're seeing Sony continue to dominate sales-wise. Sony is just, they've taken it, man. And the PS5 Pro basically is the final nail in the coffin, I think, for this generation. So in that sense, I think it's over. As we see that happen, we we are also seeing a different conversation begin to blossom. I don't know why I said it that way. Why did like as if it's some kind of beautiful conversation? It's really not. It's a hideous conversation. But poor choice of words there. But we see this new conversation arising, I guess we could say, that is very loud and in your face and very divisive, and is basically causing people to kind of pick sides in a way where it's, what do you think? Do you think Sony is making the right choices? Do you think they're going to be okay? Do you think they're going to do well? Or do you think that they're just going in the wrong direction and they are just, they're just going to continue to make poor decisions and only do things that are going to create more animosity, more resentment, more frustration, and ultimately lead to people walking away and kind of shifting away from the platform? And I feel like that's what's been so interesting to kind of witness, is as Microsoft is bowing out and as they're basically taking their leave and being like, well, maybe we'll come back with a new console in a couple years, but for now, this is basically it. And they get quiet and they're focused on just releasing Call of Duty and just doing their own thing from a more third-party perspective. I feel like there's been this hyper focus now, like Sony is under the microscope, and everybody's kind of watching very closely, and there's no denying that they've made some decisions that at best could be considered questionable, at worst could be considered just brain dead, right? With some things, but at the same time, like in the same breath, it's like, but they've also made many good decisions. So I guess what it really boils down to is we just have to kind of hope that Sony has this basic understanding that they can't take it too far, because the market will speak, right? You take it too far with the remakes and the remasters, the market will speak, and they will speak by not supporting it, and you will make no money, and you will begin to lose money. And even worse, you could eventually begin to lose players. But I just think it's a balance, man. And I think people don't quite understand that Sony, believe it or not, I know people don't want to hear this. There are some people, they just, they don't want to hear it because they refuse to believe it. But Sony has been pretty balanced overall. What the hell? Leia, are you okay? Jesus. She just like darted out from under the desk, like slammed into my shin. Wabu dude, sorry, I almost missed your super chat here. $10 super chat says, as I've mentioned before, many online communities get stuck in their own bubbles and forget about casual gamers. This happened with the Portal. While it was criticized, it became a success for Sony. Exactly. Yeah, that was one of the topics that I had listed here is a report that the PlayStation Portal remains 2024's best-selling accessory in the US. And I have to say, man, like my level of surprise is based off of exactly what you're talking about here, Wabu dude, is that people were seemingly not okay with this device. I was convinced, and you would think I would have learned an important lesson that day. Not that day, but with that announcement and this product, you think I would have learned that, dude, you can't listen to what the internet has to say because they don't know. And the PlayStation Portal might serve as honestly one of the clearest answers when we ask the question, like, what is Sony doing? Right? Like, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? Look at how the PlayStation Portal went down. Now you know. Damn, Leo Jimmy dropping $100 super chat, bro. Broccoli Rob punching air right now. He's like, no, I finally dropped a $5 super chat. And Leo Jimmy comes in and drops a $100 super chat. He's going to outshine me like that? Damn. Yeah, W's in the chat for Leo Jimmy. That's a really generous super chat, bro. Thank you so much. I'm sorry if I seem like my voice is a bit subdued or if I seem like I'm lacking enthusiasm. I'm not lacking enthusiasm. It's just my freaking throat is sore, man. Like the longer I talk, the sore it gets, the more raw it gets, and I don't want to risk losing my voice. So apologies for that. But Leo Jimmy, I'm going to read your super chat, bro. Let me just make sure I read Broccoli Rob's. Broccoli Rob with a $5 super chat says, had a nightmare last night that I subbed to Ubisoft's permanent subscription. Could you imagine? LOL. Also, I support my local strippers. Can I borrow $1? Damn, bro. That one came at me fast, Broccoli Rob. I'm not going to lie. That was like such a crazy U-turn. And Silent Spartan drops dude. I was going to say another 20 memberships. What does this mean? Silent Spartan, what does this mean? He got it. He fixed it. He figured it out. Silent Spartan drops a 20 bomb on you guys. God damn. You guys are going crazy with the membership gifts today. I need to see some W's flowing in the chat. Silent Spartan dropping 20 membership gifts. Leo Jimmy dropping $100 super chat. You guys are amazing. Seriously. I cannot express how grateful I am for the level of support that you guys are showing the channel right now, man. That means a lot. We have such an incredible community. I just don't want anybody to think that I take it for granted. I definitely don't. I very much appreciate it, man. So, Silent Spartan, I'm going to assume that everything worked out, bro, and that you were able to get it sorted and fixed. But with that 20 bomb, we're now sitting at 83 members. Space Gambler says, all right, enough with the throat jokes. Just ignore them, man. Just ignore them and they'll stop. Let me update this goal and show you where we're at, guys. And I will read Leo Jimmy's very generous super chat here. So, we're now sitting at 83 members today, guys. 83 members. We are very close, man. We are very close to hitting the 100 mark, which is incredible to see. So we'll see if we can hit that today. Silent Spartan dropped 20. He gets us closer. Leo Jimmy with a $100 super chat says, MBG money. I can't believe the Xbox is this bad. I think this is all a setup. If they do bring out a new console, Sony must talk to the third-party developers about the PlayStation 6, which Microsoft would know all to make. They would know all to make a better console. Put games on PlayStation this gen and take them off next gen. Damn, this is an interesting angle you're taking, Leo. I gotta say, it's an interesting angle you're taking, and it's one that I've thought about myself a couple of times. You know, I've thought about this, and I guess basically what we have to really ask ourselves is, do we sincerely, genuinely believe that Microsoft has conceded, that they have conceded the console space to Sony and Nintendo? Or do we not believe that? And do we believe that it's kind of like what you're saying here, Leo, that it's a ruse? It's a setup, as you put it. They're just kind of trying to play everybody. Well, I will say this, Leo. The best thing we could probably look for here to decide whether or not we really believe they're kind of done, or if they're, because, you know, I'm not going to lie. There's a part of me that does kind of like that angle, right? Where this idea that Microsoft is going to be like, you got us. Sorry, we're done. We suck. We can't do it. We give up. we lost, and it's just in the name of like basically convincing everybody that they're just down and out. And then boom, Microsoft comes in next generation, locked and loaded, fire on all cylinders, being like just more aggressive than we've ever seen them in the console space, catching Sony and everybody else in the process off guard. I mean, I like that idea because what that would mean is that, wow, they are going to compete. They're doing the opposite of giving up. They needed to get everything sorted and convince everybody that they were done, and then they just make a big comeback. That would be awesome because it would force Sony to remain on their toes, and we wouldn't have to be so concerned about whether or not they're going to get too complacent or, you know, potentially make some anti-consumer moves and all the negative things that can potentially be associated with, you know, a company not really having much competition or any at all. I do like that idea, but what I was going to say is that I think the best thing we can do is look at Microsoft's previous behavior and their previous history with Satya Nadella being the CEO. Satya Nadella is still currently the CEO of Microsoft, and everything, you know, the buck stops with him at the end of the day. He's the one that runs the ship there. And when you look at Satya Nadella's history with Microsoft, to be honest, I have not seen this. When Microsoft in other areas of their company outside of gaming, when they have given up on something and they're like, yeah, we're done, and they concede and they start to embrace other ecosystems and they start to kind of integrate themselves into other ecosystems, similar to what we're seeing them do now by bringing some of their games over to PlayStation, they, as far as I'm aware, have never went back on that. They've never just said, psych. And because of that, I feel like it's highly unlikely, Leo, that that we're going to see that happen with the Xbox brand. I will say this, though. The one thing that I find a bit peculiar is that we had a big situation occur at the beginning of this year. We had a big situation occur at the beginning of this year where Microsoft was seemingly getting ready to go full third party. And then Phil Spencer came out and he's like, whoa. We're not going full third party. We're just doing 4 games. That situation occurred. Then the 4 games came out. And then the only other thing we've heard since then, officially, the only other thing that's been announced officially is Indiana Jones coming to PS5. And the reason why I think that's interesting is because there were rumors that claimed you're going to hear Microsoft announce their second batch of games. They have multiple games that have PS5 versions that they're going to be announcing later this year. Now, we're in the middle of October now, guys. Clock's ticking. We only have about 2.5 months left of this year, which is, that's plenty of time. Yeah, that's true. Doom was announced as well. I'll be honest, I keep forgetting about that one. So there's Doom and there's Indiana Jones, but I don't know, something about those games didn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same as Microsoft formally announcing their second batch. But maybe you're right. Maybe Doom and Indiana Jones are part of that second batch. So I should keep that in mind. But I just think it's interesting that they've seemingly pumped the brakes in some way with how aggressively they plan to maybe pursue this. And I don't know why. I don't know if maybe these games are just taking longer to port to PS5. It could be that. It could just be that they're just waiting till next year or something like that. But I guess I'm throwing this out here because there is this part of me that does think this might, and I mentioned this previously, but I'll just bring it up again here briefly. I do think this might have something to do with Call of Duty on Game Pass. I think that Microsoft doesn't want to risk deviating the attention from the fact that Black Ops 6 day one on Game Pass. And the reason for this is because I think they're kind of waiting to see. I think they're waiting to see how big of a splash, how big of a bomb, how big of an explosion, I guess you could say, this results in. Because Modern Warfare 3 didn't launch on Game Pass. It came to Game Pass this summer. Black Ops 6 is officially the first time in history that we are seeing a brand new AAA Call of Duty game drop day one into a subscription service. And because of that, we have no idea what the results will be. This could be a massive explosion that just is like, we got a tsunami coming, bro. It could be that. It could be very underwhelming. It could be a very small, contained explosion that's like, wow, that wasn't at all what I expected. I expected it to be way bigger than that. That was very underwhelming. I think the assumption is it will do well. It will, lead to a big increase. But I guess I'm continuing on, and I'm continuing to talk about this because I think that there's a lot right now that hinges on Call of Duty's performance in Game Pass. And that, I think, will have a direct result in how Microsoft proceeds forward and how that will impact Sony, right? What Microsoft chooses to do beyond 2024 is going to have a big impact on Sony because they still, look at this situation right now, what we talked about with Saudi Arabia, right? And how literally retailers in Saudi Arabia, literal retailers, are coming out and saying, we've received emails from Microsoft that we are not getting any more consoles from them. Meanwhile, Microsoft is relaying to Jez Corden, we still have consoles in Saudi Arabia. Not denying it, but just, again, wording it in such a way where it's like, you're technically not lying because there are still consoles there that can be sold, but once they're sold, they're gone. And you guys are not, you know what I mean? They're sidestepping the truth, which is, so you guys are done sending your consoles there. I'm just saying, this is the way Microsoft operates right now, because I think that they're afraid to say one thing either way. I think Microsoft is afraid to commit to the idea of we're done. And as long as they're afraid to commit to the idea of saying we're done and confirming we're done, that leaves the window open a crack. You know what I mean? Where it's like, so you're saying there's a chance. That is what they're saying. Microsoft is still saying, there's a chance our plans could change. And so, Leo, what I will say to wrap up your super chat here is, I don't think it's as deep as that. I don't think it's as deep as there's this secret grand master plan. I think it's actually the opposite. I think it's very much they're trying to figure it out as they're going along. And I think because of that, there is this newfound flexibility where Microsoft very well might be going into 2025 saying, maybe we'll completely give up on console. Maybe we'll turn around and support it more than we ever have. Who knows? Let's see what happens, guys. I think that's kind of the way they're operating. And I think they're just waiting for new data to come in to tell them what they should or shouldn't do next. And I think that data that they're waiting for is Black Ops 6 on performance on Game Pass. I think if Black Ops 6 does staggering numbers on Game Pass, Microsoft might feel a renewed sense of confidence. They might feel a renewed sense of, oh, now it's working. And because of that, it could be a domino effect where it's like, all right, Phil, you were right. Game Pass is working now. What else do you want to do? We trust you now. We believe you. Your plan is working. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like, if that were to happen, we could see Phil basically be like, well, I was thinking maybe we shouldn't port some of these games to PlayStation. I don't know. Just some food for thought. But once again, before I move on, Leo, thank you so much for the generous super chat, man. $100 is no joke. And it's very kind of you to drop that. We have Waylark. He says, as a PlayStation gamer, why do we care / talk about Xbox so much? I mean, I can only speak for myself. Maybe some of the things I say while speaking for myself apply to many other people, but it's because, dude, like, the truth is Xbox has been vital to the console space. As much as I hate to say that, it's true. And the reason why they've been so vital is because, look, I am a person who believes in giving credit where credit is due. And I know how people are. I know that there are some people that hate Microsoft with a passion and they hate Xbox with a passion to the point where they hate them. They hate them. But I cannot deny that Xbox has brought some very important things to the table. You know, over how many years? Like 24 years? They have brought some good things to the table. They have brought some innovations. They have brought things that honestly, without them, who knows where Sony would be right now, bro? Who knows where Nintendo would be? Well, I don't know. Maybe Nintendo would still be in the same exact spot. But the truth is, Sony and Microsoft pushed each other. They pushed each other, and they were always very aggressive. Sony thought Microsoft was a joke when Microsoft first entered the console space, as they should have, because it's like, okay, yeah, good luck, Microsoft. We're sitting at 150 million consoles sold. You have fun over there, bud. But then, Sony's hubris ended up being their downfall. And that's when Microsoft struck, man. And I think Microsoft, they did bring some pretty solid innovations from time to time to the industry that I know for a fact, like Sony, they're like, they're like, oh, we should do something there. Like, they came up with this first, or at least they came up with this. You think about like what they did with Xbox Live and party chats and achievements and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that's stuff that Sony, they iterated on, but Sony didn't come up with it, And that's why I'm saying, like, I don't want to pretend that Xbox has only been bad for the console market, because that would be a lie. Are there many things that they did do that are not good or that have made things worse in some ways? Yes, but Sony's guilty, and so is Nintendo. They're all guilty in their own ways. No company is perfect, but it's just going to be difficult to, I think, proceed forward talking about Xbox. Because you know what it is, Waylark? I want to speak about Xbox definitively, and Microsoft will not allow me to do that. I want to speak to Microsoft or about them in a manner where, like, are we speaking about them where they are? I'm going to talk about them the same way I would talk about EA, same way I would talk about Capcom, the same way I would talk about Square Enix, where they are a third-party publisher, but they are not there yet. They're seemingly taking steps to get there, but they're also playing this game where they're like, but are we? But are we? And I'm like, you tell me. And that's the whole thing here. This is the game that Microsoft is playing where they're kind of on this razor. They're on the razor's edge right now where it's like, are you guys third party or not? Are you still competing in the console space or not? And I mean, imagine we go into next generation with the next gen Xbox, competing against the PS5, but Halo is announced to be coming to PlayStation. How do you even how do you even have that conversation? What does that even look like? So I guess Xbox just plays a vital role in this conversation, or in any conversation regarding the console space, simply because, dude, they've been here since 2001. And literally Microsoft's mission statement when Xbox was created was, we want to take on Sony. Like, we don't want Sony to have a monopoly in the living room. And that's why it's like, I don't know. I'll be honest with you, man. I've never covered PlayStation solo, as in like, they don't have any competitors. I've never, even when I was covering Microsoft, I was never covering Microsoft solo. Sony was always a massive part of the conversation. So I guess what I'm trying to say at this point, Waylark, is I do think that eventually, if what we think is going to happens, where Microsoft really does just, it's a curtain call, it's just a slow one where it's like, they're walking away. They're done. And it's just a slow, grueling process over the remainder of the generation. Then the day will come where the conversation will just be not exclusively around PlayStation, like just where that's all we don't talk about literally any other, but it's just at that point, there will be a very non-competitive, well, I don't know, by that point, we might be talking about the Switch too. Imagine that. Imagine Waylark 3 years from now dropping a super chat saying, as a PS gamer, why do we care / talk about Nintendo so much? And the answer at that point would be, well, because Nintendo's the only one trying to seemingly compete with Sony in any way, shape, or form. I don't know, Waylark. But I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you're supporting with some super chats. I appreciate it. Salaire Vestora says, why are people ignoring the 700,000 PlayStation Portal number in the US? The PSP did 80 million. Even Steam Deck at a couple of million has sold more than Portal. Thanks. Well, I'll be honest with you, Salaire. It's not that I'm ignoring that number. I didn't see that number. Salaire, if you're able to, are you able to tell me where that number came from? Because that's the first I'm hearing. Circana, okay. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and deny that, the PlayStation Portal does not hold a candle to the PlayStation. Oh, wait. The PlayStation Portal does not hold a candle to the PlayStation Portable. Oh my God. I don't know why. That's like so confused because they almost sound like the same exact thing. But the PSP selling 80 million units, dude. Yeah, I think it's impossible to kind of compare these things because the PSP was a whole ass console platform, Sony had exclusives made for it, and it was treated like a brand new console launch because that's what it was. And it is crazy to think, dude, that it sold 80 million. Maybe you can kind of understand why Sony gave up after the Vita, because they were like, bro, the PSP did 80 million and the PS Vita did like 35 or something, like nowhere near that. And Sony's probably like, well, we're not doing this anymore. And I guess I would say the reason why the PlayStation Portals, because even though the PlayStation Portals numbers, they cannot be, like I said, they don't hold a candle to these dedicated handhelds. It's what the PlayStation Portal is. You know, the PlayStation Portal is, I'll be honest with you, man, this was a handheld that when it was first revealed, it was received so poorly. I wouldn't have been surprised if it struggled to hit even 100,000 units sold. I thought like maybe like 25, 40,000 people are going to buy this thing tops. And I think even Sony, like, keep in mind, they were, the PlayStation Portal was out of stock for like 6 or 7 months, dude, because that's how few of these things were made. And I think that Sony was just very much expecting exactly what I'm saying, which is hardly anybody's probably going to buy this. So, you know, this is how many we're going to make, because this is what we're predicting. And so while 700,000 it may be very minuscule compared to like 80 million or even like 30 million, right? I think it's the potential. It's the potential that, well, if this was just a kind of, I don't want to say the PlayStation Portal was half-assed. I think that's a rude way of putting it, but just a kind of like minimal risk handheld where it's like $200, decent screen, cut in half DualSense, remote play. Let's just see. And the fact that the response for something that was seemingly supposed to have so few people interested in it, way more people were interested in it than expected, I could see how that kind of like sparks Sony's interest in like, okay, well, man, how would people respond if we did a more robust handheld? Something better. I mean, you're saying the Steam Deck has sold a couple of million more than the Portal. And that's the thing, is like, I think, oh my God, what is going on, dude? Leia just freaked me the hell out. I'm sorry. I've been playing too much Silent Hill, man. Leia is just like sleeping, and she just made the strangest sound. It was like a concerning sound. It like kind of freaked me out. I didn't realize it was her until I looked at her. Just trying to sit here and answer super chats, and my cat's over there making sounds that feel like they're coming out of Silent Hill 2. That game is in my head, man. Egyptian Magician says Silent Hill is great. Gotta take breaks because my brain can't take it. Yeah, I do want to talk more about Silent Hill 2. I wanted to beat it before I talked more about it in depth, but I'm very close. In MBG's Restless Dreams. But yeah, you know, you think about the Steam Deck only selling a couple of million units. I mean, the way people talk about Steam Deck, right? The way people talk about it on the internet, and again, this is why sometimes you got to be careful how much you allow the internet to paint the picture for you. I would have thought Steam Deck sold like 10 million units or something, or like 20 million units. But in reality, it's only sold a couple of million, which is not bad. I mean, I don't think Valve cares. I just think they're like, yeah, cool, you know? I don't think Valve was expecting it to be like a major, massive seller. But when I look at why Sony would want to offer something, well, the reason is twofold. Number one, I think it's about the options. I think it's about, you want to keep people engaged in your ecosystem, right? Okay. Well, here's the second reason. You have maybe an indirect competitor with Steam. And I call them indirect because PC is still a competitor, but again, not directly. You have them putting out their own piece of hardware. It is a handheld PC. Now, Sony, you are releasing many of your games on PC now. So, anybody who buys this handheld PC, and even if it's not the Steam Deck, something like the ROG Ally or something, right? Anybody who chooses to buy one of these PC handhelds, they will now have access to your games outside of your own ecosystem. You are a hardware manufacturer. You do not offer a solution. You do not offer something that can be placed in front of a PlayStation consumer or customer that says, hold on, before you buy a Steam Deck or before you go buy a ROG Ally or any of these other handheld PCs, please consider this dedicated handheld PlayStation device that can also play not only all of those games, but many more games that are not offered on there that that come from PlayStation. And that is why I think, regardless of the sales numbers at this point, I think it's just seen as vital for Sony to offer their own solutions, to offer their own options for their customers. Because if you think about it, when Sony talked about why they made the Portal, they made it because they said, we want to try to keep PlayStation players further engaged with the PS5. We want the engagement levels as high as they can be. So if people are putting, the DualSense down and turning off their PS5 console so that way they can go lay in bed or be wherever else they want to be in their home or near their home, and they have the Nintendo Switch, they have the Steam Deck. PlayStation doesn't really have anything except you can pull out your phone, but most people aren't going to do that. And that's why I think at this point, Sony just sees it as kind of vital. This is why they are working on a new dedicated handheld. It's not going to get its own exclusives or anything like that. It'll be a part of a family of devices, but this is why Sony's pursuing it, because it's not really about the sales as much as it's just about, we have to have our own solution to keep people engaged, And I think Sony maybe woke up to this at some point during this generation. I think it's very interesting that if you look at how aggressive Sony has gotten with fleshing out and really building out their own hardware ecosystem, I mean, they have not been playing around, dude. Outside of the PS5, I mean, you're talking, again, PSVR 2, 2 premium headsets, premium earbuds, the PlayStation Portal, the DualSense Edge, and now the PS5 Pro. And I just think that Sony has really gotten, they've offered the media remote, which, nobody really talks about that, but they offered that. They offered the PlayStation camera. Again, I don't know how many people use this stuff, but they've taken it very seriously when it comes to fleshing out their family of hardware and having that hardware ecosystem. And all of it is in the name of either A, keeping you engaged directly with the ecosystem, or B, offering something comparable to other high-end third parties. Yeah, in-zone as well. That's a good call out. Yeah, even extending it to the PC side with monitors and a line of headsets that are meant for PC gaming. I mean, you can use them on the console too. They're not exclusive, but Chad A says Xbox's issue is that they've cultivated users who don't buy, they just get Game Pass. Sony users have bought into the brand via building personal libraries. Yeah, and it's really interesting when you mention that. Sorry to just shift so abruptly, but I realized that I didn't read what Chad A said here. What's really interesting when you mention this, Chad, is that the first thing that pops into my mind is it has to be when Phil Spencer last year during the launch of Redfall, when he basically said that we lost the most important console generation there was to lose with the Xbox One, because that is when players started building their digital libraries. And once they get entrenched with a digital library, they're stuck. Like, they're not going to leave. And there's nothing you can do to get them to go. And, when you mentioned Game Pass here, yeah, that's where, if there was anything that maybe really went over my head in that moment. It's exactly that. It's just the kind of realization that, hold on. So while this was happening, and while more people were choosing to buy PlayStations over Xboxes, there were still people building digital libraries on Xbox. But like, yeah, you decided Game Pass was going to be your solution, and people cannot build a library with Game Pass. Game Pass is the opposite of building a library. Game Pass is having a temporary library that at any moment, if you decide, well, I no longer like what's on offer here with this library of games because they're in constant rotation, I'm going to head out. And none of these games require a purchase. I mean, that probably did irreversible damage, truthfully. For as much damage as Sony did, and as much damage as Xbox did to themselves during the beginning of the generation, I do feel like this is something that Microsoft maybe underestimated greatly, which is, bro, have you seriously thought about what happens when you tell people you don't have to buy games anymore? You don't have to build a digital library anymore. I know Sony does that, Perfect Image. I know. But the biggest difference between, I would say, Sony's approach and Microsoft's is Microsoft bet everything on it. And Sony never did. Sony always treated PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium as exactly that. It's just extra. It's an option. You know, it's not our primary vector for growth. It's not our bread and butter. It's important. Yeah. I'm not going to say it's not important, but that I think is where Microsoft, when they, I mean, let's face it, man, like Microsoft dove in the deep end. They dove head first and they were all in. Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. And the fact that they're still committed to it now goes to show how it really is like, yeah, guys, we really need this to work. You know what I mean? We really need this to work because we went all in. We went full Game Pass. Sony probably be sitting there talking to Microsoft. You're like, Jim Ryan. Sergeant Jim Osiris Ryan talking to Phil, being like, you never go full Game Pass. You went full Game Pass. Never go full Game Pass. And Microsoft didn't understand, man. They're like, I went full Game Pass? Like, yeah, you did. That's why it's so interesting when you look back in 2021 and 2022, Sony, they were under pressure, man. Like, people were like, are you going to do it, Sony? You're going to do it? You're going to start putting your games day one? You're going to start telling people not to buy games and really... And they were like, no, we're not. And they got heat for it. People were like, I hate you, Sony. Why you make me buy your games? Why you make me pay full price? But I will tell you this. I have witnessed the damage that the Game Pass model can do to the brand, like in its bottom line. I almost said the gamer, but I'm like, well, it doesn't really damage the gamer necessarily, but it can have deleterious effects on the brand, the money the brand makes, and the perception. I have a friend who, you know, I've referenced them before, where they don't buy games anymore, and it's interesting because they used to buy games. They actually used to be on PlayStation, and they used to buy games. But they went all in with Game Pass and Xbox, and ever since then, they don't buy games. Like, they refuse to ever buy games. And it's all just about, like, whatever shows up on Game Pass, and if it's not on Game Pass, you'll just wait and see if it eventually does show up on Game Pass. And it was actually to a point where, and this is why I tried to warn people that, like, you think Microsoft isn't going to start trying to squeeze money from their customers. Like, they need money too, you know. I mean, they're rich. They're unbelievably rich, but they're a business. They're going to need to make money quarterly. It got to a point where this friend of mine was like, does anybody know if there's still a workaround to use your Microsoft rewards points to get a free month of Game Pass? And I guess this is how, or I don't know if it was like reward points, but also like the $1. You remember there was always you could pay $1. You make a new account, you pay $1, and you can get Game Pass for a month for $1 or something. And Microsoft cracked down on all of this, and they were like, no more. They were like, no more, because they realize like this is what people are doing. Like, they don't want to give you their money because you're giving them the option. You're giving them and I get it. I'm not against that. It's like, if you can save money and gain access, go for it. But I always just thought this was strange from Microsoft's perspective, that they were always pushing for this, like, best deal in gaming, best value in gaming, sign up for $1. And I'm like, bro, you're communicating a message to people that you don't need to pay $70 for games anymore. You just need to pay $1. Do you think that's not going to come and bite you in the ass at some point? I mean, come on. And the reason why it's going to come and bite you in the ass is because eventually you're going to have no choice but to reveal the truth to people. And the truth is, oh, guys, it turns out that we're not your friend. We're a multi-trillion-dollar business, and we want money too. And it's like, I mean, you I at least appreciate that Sony was up front and they're just like, yeah, we want your money. You're going to give it to us or not? Here's the product. Do you want it or not? I'm like, all right, well, yeah, I okay. Ice Rezo says MBG in the future, if regulators would force Sony and Nintendo to open their platforms to other digital stores, who do you think would benefit? You already see it with the Android platform and Apple. It's a great question, Ice. I didn't even think about that. Who do you think would benefit? Well, I mean, I would imagine that if this were to occur, right, like the regulators force Sony and Nintendo, I'm going to speak more so from Sony. I think Nintendo would have a conniption. I don't know what Nintendo would do, because Nintendo's been so closed, you know, like I can't even begin to rationalize how Nintendo would respond to that. To be clear, I don't think this will happen, by the way. I don't think this will happen, but I guess the assumption would be that Microsoft in some way would benefit, because if you think about it, it's kind of like what we said here. I feel like if Sony were to be forced to be more open to allowing like Microsoft and others to do more on their platform, I mean, again, it just immediately makes me think like, does this mean Microsoft is going to be able to force Game Pass into the store, into the PlayStation ecosystem? And I feel like they would have to, I think, it would have to be like a custom version of it where it's like, it's just Microsoft games. Right? But that's where you think about like Call of Duty. If Microsoft had Game Pass on PlayStation right now, how many Call of Duty players on PlayStation that are going to pay $70 or more for that game right now would decide, never mind, I'm just going to subscribe to Game Pass? I mean, I don't know how many players would do that, but what I do know is that Sony would lose their fucking minds, because what that translates to is, Sony, you almost got my $70. Although you almost got 30% of my $70. Now you're going to get 0% of any of my bucks. And that would be, that would hurt Sony. And the only way that I could ever see that being possible, because, you talk about the regulators forcing, well, in order for the regulators to force something like that to happen, they need to have a good reason. Like, they can't just say, Sony, we're forcing you to do this now because we don't like you, because Microsoft said so. No, what would have to happen is Microsoft would have to I think they would not have to have at the very least, they would have to stop making consoles. They would have to show evidence and proof that they are a full third-party entity now. That they are not in it to proliferate their own storefront or their own platform, or, potentially to, they have to basically, again, become like EA, become like Ubisoft, where it's no longer about trying to win because they're not competing with Sony. They're now just a partner for Sony. They're just using Sony as a storefront, which is what Sony agrees to do for these third-party publishers, even with their sub-services. But I don't know. It's hard to say exactly how a situation like that would unfold and what the results would really be at the end of the day. But I don't know. We got time. That's the only thing I feel like I know, is we still have some time. Things are continuing to change. Things are still in flux, but we still got time. All right. Just finishing off that coffee there. Let me make sure I didn't get any more direct donations. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. We're good on that. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to clear up some of my tabs here. I have a bunch of tabs open that probably shouldn't be open. I think it's just causing some unnecessary slowdown here. Okay. Well, when it comes to this conversation, generally speaking, I think it will continue. I think that we're gonna learn more. I actually am starting to think that we might learn quite a bit at the Game Awards this year. That's kind of the hunch I have. I feel like the Game Awards, let's face it, the Game Awards is basically like the new E3 in a way. I know there's Summer Game Fest. I know there's Gamescom, but the Game Awards really, it's not exactly the same as E3, but it's the closest thing I think we have now, where it's like once a year where there's like a big just pop that every publisher wants to be involved with, and every publisher wants to save their big shit for the Game Awards now. No, I did not see this, Ahoy Tyler. Do you think you could give me a little bit more info on that? You're saying, MBG, did you see that Corey has indirectly teased the God of War Greek Saga remasters through the songs he was listening to last night? Was this on Twitter, I'm assuming? Lullaby remastered. Are you sure? teaser. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It does kind of come off a little bit that way. I don't know that I would consider it a direct tease. Certainly not. His first tweet regarding hot devil pot of tea is an old reference to the Greek saga. Oh, I didn't know that. Jay, what is this? Oh, okay. So Captain Cuba. Did Corey Barlog just confirm the God of War remasters? Well, so maybe we could talk about that for a moment. Some of you guys were asking me to talk about this, and I'm just hesitant to talk about it because the source that is claiming this, they have not had the best track record. And to be honest, the last thing that they said turned out to be incorrect. Although, you know what? Hold on. So let me back up. The source that talks about the God of War Saga remaster is known on Twitter, and I believe they have their own Discord, as Lunatic Ignis, or Ignis the Wise. This person, if I'm not mistaken, they basically got one thing correct, and then they got another thing incorrect. The first thing that they got correct was they stated when the PS5 Pro announcement was occurring, and they were correct about that. The second thing they stated was when the state of play would happen, and they said that Resident Evil 9 would be at the state of play. And they were completely wrong about Resident Evil 9. And that's where things get, you immediately have to be skeptical because, when somebody who claims to be an insider, they put something so definitive like that out there, and then it's just completely wrong, you got to question, like, how much of this are they just throwing out there hoping they get right, I will say that's true, and I thought the timing of that was very funny. People are freaking out right now because Resident Evil 9 just appeared on Metacritic. There's an official Metacritic Resident Evil 9 page now, and it seems like it. I mean, that's pretty much confirmation. Like, it's real, and it seems like it's going to be announced soon. So, but in regards to the God of War Greek saga, so Lunatic Ignis on their Twitter account, and this tweet got a lot of attention. This tweet got over 800,000 views and over 10,000 likes. So, if this person turns out to be wrong about this, I don't think they're ever going to be taken seriously again. But it would be cool if they were right, because here's what he says. He says, yes, the rumors are true. God of War Greek Saga Remastered. That's not the actual title. It's in the works at Santa Monica Studio and Nixus Software. The development is finished, and they're just waiting for an announcement release. It will be releasing in 2025, with the announcement coming between December and March. And he goes on to say, when I said the Greek Saga, I mean all Greek Saga, including 1 through 3, the PSP games, and Ascension. Now, I'm somewhat torn on this. Because on one hand, this absolutely sounds like something Sony should do that I think people would be very happy about. Right? I mean, I know people are tired of remasters and whatnot. I know people are tired of the remasters and the remakes, but let's face it. If Sony came out and they were like, guys, we're giving you 6 God of War games, fully remastered in one complete package for $70, I think people would be all over that. I think people would be very happy, especially if it's a really good remaster, right? On the other hand, that just doesn't sound like Sony to me. You know, that doesn't sound like Sony PlayStation in 2024. They don't seem to be interested in doing these package collections anymore. However, I will say what's a little bit different now, though, is God of War maybe is an exception to the rule at this point, where God of War is still considered very much a staple franchise for PlayStation. And also, they did do a compilation or a duo with Uncharted, where they did, for the PS5, they did the remaster of Uncharted 4 and the Legacy of, the Lost Legacy expansion as well. So, people are also pointing out that next year is the 20th anniversary of God of War. And I'm like, gotta say, if there was ever a time to announce a full remaster collection like that, the 20th anniversary would be the time to do it. So I'm just skeptical, man. Like, I don't want to get people's hopes up and say, guys, I think it's happening, because this is just one source so far saying this. I will say, I find it very interesting that Cory Barlog seemingly, I don't know, man, he's getting a little bit cheeky over there, because I didn't see that. I didn't see that he seemingly acknowledged this on his Twitter indirectly. Nixus Software has made it clear with the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster that they're also working on PlayStation remasters. Magnum Gaming says, I'm so frustrated. My PS5 crashed 2 times already, about an hour in playing Silent Hill 2 Remake. I'm just going to wait for the Pro to brute force it. Damn, dude. I'm sorry to hear that, Magnum Gaming. Have you tried cleaning out your PS5? Seeing maybe if it's a little bit dusty inside? Maybe it needs a good cleaning, potentially? Luckily, I haven't... my console hasn't crashed while playing Silent Hill 2. There was that one time, though, where apparently the power supply was very loose, and I had to plug it back in. But I thought about waiting for the Pro. Apparently, some people discovered in Silent Hill 2 Remake's code that there is hints of a Pro update coming, because there were certain lines of code that referenced PSSR. So I don't know, man. I could see a situation unfolding where as soon as the PS5 Pro enhanced patch for Silent Hill 2 Remake launches, I'm done with Silent Hill 2 Remake. I completed it. I could see that happening. Magnum, you're saying you cleaned it out a couple of months ago? Shit. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, on the plus side, man, you're saying you're just going to wait for the Pro. I mean, it's only a couple weeks away at this point. I would say keep messing with it. See if you can get it fixed, but the Pro should be able to handle it no problem. I probably have to clean my PlayStation 5. It's been a while. It has. But either way, Magnum Gaming, I do appreciate you dropping a super chat, man. And, I got to ask you guys, how would you feel about a complete God of War Greek Saga remaster for PS5? 6 games in one package. Do you think that package would be $70? I think it would be $70. But I think people would be okay with it, because it's like, damn, 6 games? I guess there's also the question of, how much would go into these remasters? You think it'll be like $100? That would be interesting if Sony went that route. That would be very interesting if they decided to actually price it higher. I think that would be a problem. I think people would be very upset. That would suck. Yeah, we'd have to call Sony out for that. I think 70 is fair just because of the sheer volume of games they're giving you. You know? Like, for me, that just automatically feels like, okay, that's fair. 6 games? Yeah. As long as they're, again, if they're not the bare minimum, I would hope it's a little bit more than that. I don't know exactly what I would expect, but I do want to tell you this as well. It's worth noting that well-known and established industry insider Shinobi602, who is well-respected, very well-respected, and has... The interesting thing about Shinobi is he rarely ever says things because he has a lot of industry... It's clear he has a lot of industry friends, and he's not trying to get anybody in trouble, but he definitely has sources. And sometimes he gives out a little bit of info. He did say a couple of weeks ago, Shinobi602 did say that Sony has more coming for 2025. That's all he said. Beyond Death Stranding, beyond Ghost of Yotei, beyond Marathon, he was saying they have more planned. And I wonder if this could possibly be something that, like, if maybe this was what he was kind of hinting at. Steven, you're saying people will always be upset. Yeah, that's true. That's true, too. We always got to ask ourselves if it's within reason, you know? Like, is it really worth getting upset over? Or people just overreacting? December state of play? Well, it's possible. I mean, the Game Awards are in December, but some people still believe that Sony might be doing a... They might be doing a, like, 30th anniversary showcase of some kind. I don't know. Well, let me say this, right? Does anybody else find it kind of interesting that, I mean, Sony has, I would say, a bit of a roadmap now. Sony does have a bit of a roadmap for 2025, where, again, they have Ghost of Yotei, Marathon, Death Stranding 2. All 3 of these games are confirmed to be coming in 2025. But they don't have anything for January, February, or March. Like, they don't have anything lined up for the first quarter of the year. I mean, I guess if you want to count Freedom Wars Remastered, you know, but I don't know that anybody's really looking at that and being like, oh, yeah. Although I might try it. But there's nothing lined up for the first quarter of 2025. And so I also want to point this out. I don't know if you guys caught this or not, and I failed to report on it because the info came out when I was taken off the last couple days to rest up. Apparently, in the latest Destiny 2 update, in the code, there is somebody discovered that in the code are pre-orders for Marathon. And that, you know, people were kind of like, whoa, I guess we're going to be hearing about Marathon pre-orders soon. So there's like certain little things here and there that seem to be hinting at, again, all this stuff could just show up at the Game Awards. But what's the actual release date or anniversary date for God of War? It's a good question. I'm going to guess right now. I'm going to say March something, 2005. Let me see. Oh, I was actually correct. Holy shit. March 22nd. I didn't think I was going to get that right. I didn't get the day. I got the month right, though. March 22nd, 2005 is when God of War 1 released for the Sony PlayStation 2 exclusive. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think that if Sony wanted to launch, if they do have a Greek Saga collection, like a remaster collection in the works, if they wanted to launch it in March, I guess the announcement would have to happen soon. Shane Harper says, trust me, it's going to be sweet babied God of War remaster. They will remove the sex scenes and all the ladies from the game. Oh, man. I hope not. Just because I feel like that's so stupid. I mean, I understand that it's like, that's not really, I don't know. Like, to me, it's just one of these things where it's like, dude, it was in the game. Just leave it. Like, please don't will that into existence. Sony would have to be stupid, man. Like, I mean, there has to be limitations on the stupidity, right? Where it's like, you can't do that. You just, like, why? Why would you do that, man? You know, it's like one of those situations where it's like, you could have just left it alone and everybody would be happy. Why would you do that? If they remove stuff like that, it's just, what's the message they're sending? Because modern day artists. Yeah, that's where things are taken too far, man. And if something like that happens, I will rip into Sony because that's bullshit. I'm not saying that that's like the driving reason why people want to play God of War and the Greek Saga. But I mean, come on, man. Like, the message that they would send by censoring that or removing that from the game would be so just like, wow, man, you guys really are just, so this is what you are now, huh? Jay Shako says, not going to happen. I would hope not. I would hope not. All right, so guys, remember, if you want to help the stream and you want to let me know that you're enjoying the stream and you're enjoying the content and you want to help with YouTube's algorithm, make sure you hit that like button. I probably should have mentioned that a couple more times. I didn't realize we're already at the 2 hour and 45 minute mark. So guys, make sure you crush that like button. All right, make sure you hit that like button the same way you're going to hit circle. Right? The same way you're going to tap circle in God of War for certain scenes, right? See if we can bump that up to 225 likes, maybe push for 250 if possible. I also do want to let you guys know we're currently sitting at 83 members for the day. All right, the reason why I'm saying this is because we're probably going to be going on here for about another 15 or so minutes. It's X, not circle. Are you sure? I could have swore it was circle, bro. Now I feel like I'm being gaslit. I thought it was circle. That's not how you do those scenes. All right, I know. You have to hit, like, you know, L1 and R1 pops up, and then you got to hit square. And I know. I'm saying at the end, though. Whatever. But I want to let you know, we're sitting at 83 members. Let's see if we can do it. It's perfectly fine if we can. 83 members is a massive amount, obviously, but you know, we cap the goal usually at 100. So let's see if we can push for the next 15 minutes, get a little member train going, if possible. See if we can hit that 100 milestone. I see somebody asking if we're doing a members launch today. So we're not going to do one today, but to be honest, I couldn't do one today. I have to actually end the stream soon because my voice is going. Like, let me tell you, man. This is just a thing that happens on a yearly basis, seemingly. Every time the seasons change, you know, son's in preschool now, and probably bringing home, you know, you're going to be bringing home more viruses and whatnot. Every year this happens where I just have a couple weeks at a time where I struggle with my voice. So I will not be able to do it today, but we will be doing members content throughout the week. Okay. We're going to be my goal is to do content all throughout the week between Monday and Thursday, we're going to have videos. We're going to have regular streams, but we will be doing some members lounges. And so, yeah, I will be carving out time for that. Let me see here. Oh, yeah, we call it, it's cross, by the way. It's not X. It's cross. Oh, look, we have MBG. MBG using his milestone chat saying 17 more members to hit 100. Well, damn. To be honest, I just saw that pop up and I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, I can use these too. I have not been utilizing my milestone chats, man. I gotta be honest. I have not been utilizing them. That MBG guy's only been a member for 16 months. I know, right? I know. Only 16 months, bro. Steven says, off topic, I got my eye surgery on Monday. I hope everything goes well and I can see clearly again. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a big deal, Steven. I hope the recovery goes well too, man. That'd be awesome, you know? Get your vision back. I think that's what my father-in-law did. He got like laser eye surgery. I mean, I don't know if that's what you got or if it's the same thing, but I remember he had really bad vision and he got laser eye surgery and it worked really well for him. But I remember the recovery was kind of crazy. Like you're basically like temporarily blind. Like not fully blind, but you like basically can't. You have to wear like certain glasses or goggles for like a couple days, and that's for cataracts. Well, yeah, man, I hope it went well for you. You have to let us know. You got to be able to see, you got to be able to watch the MBG streams clearly, bro. You got to be able to see it clearly. My God, my throat is killing me though, man. I would, dude, I honestly, I want to stream longer. I just can't, I can't talk much longer. My voice is going. I can feel it. Ice Queen Gaming says, I got a hospital appointment on Wednesday for my double vision problems. I've been having issues. Yeah, that sucks. Hope that goes well. The last time I didn't have double vision. I actually had triple vision. Was when I first woke up from, I'd gotten my oral surgery done. And my God, dude, I don't know how many drugs they pumped in my system, but I will never forget. Like I woke up, I had triple vision, dude, and I could not. It was the craziest shit ever. I was barely like functioning, but my eyes were open. It was just like triple of everything, and I'm like, oh shit. Use text to speech. I mean, I guess that's an option if it comes down to it. No, my goal is to rest up my voice for the rest of the day. I wonder. See, I can't even blame the weather because somehow it's 82 degrees outside today. I don't even know how that's possible, but it looks like the temperatures today looks like it's basically going to be the last day of summer because the temperatures dropped to like in the 50s and 60s all week after today. What is the humidity right now, though? What's the moisture level? Humidity, 33%. So it says it's pretty dry. Okay. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I have a humidifier. Nice big humidifier. Maybe I'll start running it in this room. Maybe that's not how, my throat's drying out or whatever. It's so annoying though, man. Can't drive. Oh, yeah. I'm seeing double 6 monitors. I don't have a 3 monitor setup, no. No 3 monitor setup. I don't know if you guys noticed, maybe you have, but like for about 2 weeks there, I had a different setup in front of me and the screen I was using was way too big. It was way too big. It just wasn't practical. I was trying to use it, but I'm like looking up, I'm looking over here. So I have a more simplified setup now. Am I in Florida? No, I'm not in Florida. Shane Harper, member for 12 months, says if they do a God of War collection, they got to do a Sly Cooper and Jack and Daxter remaster collection, along with KZ, as in Killzone, Resistance, and an Infamous collection as well. Well, see, that's the thing, Shane. Sony, I don't know that I fully believe this rumor because I feel like Sony, they haven't really done these types of collections since like the early PS4 days. I know they did them during the PS3 days as well, but I think they're only willing to do collections like this, if they're even willing to do collections at all, for franchises that they plan to continue in a significant way. Like God of War is a staple and remains a staple, and it's clear that the God of War franchise is going to continue in a very meaningful way. All the franchises you just listed, the unfortunate reality for now anyway, is that we can't say the same. We can't say the same. We can't say that they have plans for Sly Cooper, Jack and Daxter, Killzone, Resistance, Infamous. I think those collections would do well. I think people would love that, but I also think it's a matter of the message that Sony might send with those collections. I think if Sony did a Killzone collection, for example, I think they're sending the message that, see, we still acknowledge Killzone and we're gonna make more Killzone. But in reality, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna do that. Yeah, no, I do live on the East Coast. Yeah, for sure. I think some people have figured it out, but I always just kind of like to leave it up there. Leave it up in the air. All right, guys. 3-minute warning. This is it. I'm going to be ending the stream at the 3-hour mark. Last opportunity. If there's any more fan funding you would like to do today, we will be back tomorrow with another stream, hopefully, as long as I don't wake up with my voice gone. But we will be doing another stream tomorrow. But for now, 3-minute warning. If you have any more super chats you want to drop, any more member gifts, any more direct donations, now would be the time to do it. PlayStation Pete says, MBG, I will be doing an unboxing and face reveal for the 30th anniversary PS5 Pro. Well, that's awesome, dude. He's doing a face reveal. I remember those days. I remember when I did a face reveal for the PS5 unboxing. I regret it every day. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I do think about that sometimes, though. Like, if I never went on camera, I guess I would be sitting here still, a mystery. But no, I think it worked out ultimately. But good stuff, PlayStation Pete. Yeah. Hopefully it goes well. I'm yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel too sad that I wasn't able to get the 30th Anniversary Pro Edition, but it would definitely be cool to have, you know? Not gonna lie. So I hope you enjoy it, man. But guys, if you want to see a 30th Anniversary PS5 Pro reveal and a face reveal, or an unboxing, I mean. No, a face unboxing. There we go. First ever face unboxing confirmed over on PlayStation Pete's channel. Leia, can you relax a second? We're going to be ending the stream in just a moment here. It's not often that I get a really thick foggy day where I live, but on rare occasion there are really thick foggy days. It's very rare, but it does happen. And I just laugh so much because I'm just like Silent Hill. Like, I just want to stream outside and be like, guys, I'm in Silent Hill. But it's super rare. Probably like once a year. There was this one time, I think it was last year. It was so foggy outside. I was like shocked. I couldn't believe how foggy it was. I'm like, bro, it's legitimately Silent Hill right now. But it's always so creepy looking. All right, guys, we hit the 3-hour mark. This is where I'm going to wrap up today's stream. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to have to end it here so I can rest my voice. I did put out a video earlier today. If you haven't checked that out, please go check that out. Also, yeah, so we should be back tomorrow. Again, if everything goes according to plan, we should be back tomorrow with another video, another stream. And again, we will be doing some members content throughout the week. So be on the lookout for that if you're a channel member. Okay, and before I go, I want to give a big thank you and shout out to everybody who dropped some fan funding today. Again, 83 memberships, absolutely huge. You guys basically crushed 3 goals today. We came in with the goal of 25. Here we are sitting at 83. Thank you so much for that support. It means a lot. And a lot of super chats as well. A lot of generosity in general from this community. And so I'm very thankful to be able to do these streams, to be able to have these conversations with you, and to be able to continue to create content as I do on the channel. So thank you so much for making it possible for me, the cats, my family, and the community in general. I also want to make sure to give a shout out to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps for all of the streams. He does an incredible job, and I know that people here really appreciate what he does. So Devil Shooter, thank you so much, man. If you guys see him in the comments, make sure you give him some thanks and show him some love. I know he appreciates it. Steven, you're saying you're going to go rest up. Yeah, man, same here. Same here. So, all right. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon, and enjoy the rest of your day. And that does it. All right. Till next time, guys. Take care. Oh, and hit that like button on your way out. I did forget to mention that.